A look at the waiver wire on Fantasy Football Today Express. All right, Jamie. So the big storyline going into Week 18 is always which teams are sitting their starters. So why don't we start with the AFC and teams that you think are going to be sitting their starters?
It sounds like the Chiefs are going to sit their starters. It sounds like the Bills are going to start Josh Allen and who knows who else, but then pull Allen and who knows who else, just to get Allen his consecutive starts, which is at 120 and counting. And the rest of the AFC is sort of dependent, I think, on what happens on Saturday, a couple of teams at least. So if the Ravens win, the Steelers would then be locked into the 5 seed, and the Ravens win, the Steelers cannot get the 3 seed or the division. So then it's a matter of, do they want to play and try and get the 5 seed or the 6 seed? If the Steelers lose their game on Saturday, then the Chargers have the opportunity to get the 5 seed if they win. So will they try and play against the Raiders, their starters? So that's sort of contingent on that game. Obviously, there's a lot at play with the teams competing for the 7 spot, in terms of the Dolphins, the Bengals, and the Broncos. So all those teams are going to play. And then the Patriots, really from a non-playoff team, is the one that we're watching, because they may sit Drake May to maybe not risk him getting injured, but also to not have a chance to beat the Bills backups, which they still could do, obviously, if Joe Milton is the starter, or Jacoby Brissett, depending on how that goes. But there's some talk about the Patriots maybe sitting Drake May.
Right, because they have the number 1 pick right now, and they don't want to lose that.
Yeah, they understand the assignment, unlike your team.
Yeah, right, exactly. By the way, why do teams want the 5 seed instead of the 6 seed in the AFC? Well, if the Ravens do what we expect them to do and beat the Browns on Saturday, they're going to have the 3 seed, which means the 6 seed plays at the Ravens. The 5 seed is at the Texans. The Texans are locked into the 4. They are going to play their guys. They want to get that foul stench out of their mouths after a horrible showing last week. But you definitely have to wonder, are they going to play their guys the entire time? So
how crazy would a Steelers-Ravens first round be? I think the Ravens don't want to see that either.
Yeah, I think the Ravens would handle the Steelers in Baltimore.
I think so too, but you don't want to see a rival that already beat you once this season and knows how to play Lamar Jackson better than anybody else.
Would you rather face the Chargers?
No, you'd rather face Steelers. I'm just saying it's crazy that's the potential matchup. I'd rather face the Steelers at this point than the Chargers. If you're ranking the playoff teams right now, you would say it's Buffalo 1 or Kansas City 1. I mean, that's
definitely Kansas City for me.
Or Baltimore. I mean, all 3 of those teams are, up there, but those are the top 3. And then 4 might be the Chargers, right?
So I'm actually, yeah, I think so. But I think 4, 5, 6 is like a 3-way tie. I actually kind of am a Broncos believer. I think they're good. Between the Broncos, Chargers, and Steelers, I think they're tied for 4th.
Oh, if I'm working my way from the bottom to the top, I would start Texans at 7, Steelers at 6.
Okay.
And then I would put the unless it's the Dolphins, I guess. But Bengals would easily be ahead of those teams.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals, we are a little kind of ignoring how bad their defense is.
But their defense has played better lately, though.
Has it? I mean, maybe. I don't know. Their defense is awful. But all right. And then on to the NFC, Lions and Vikings are going for it. No issues there. Eagles, you figure they're going to play their starters for a little bit. They want to get Saquon Barkley. The rushing record is 101 yards away. Right. We don't know. I don't know that you're going to see their starters the whole time. The Rams, if the Buccaneers lose at 1:00, the Rams are locked into the 3. The Buccaneers are probably going to win. They're facing the Saints. So that would mean that the Rams need to win to get the 3 seed instead of the 4 seed. You definitely want the 3 seed. The 3 seed is going to be not facing the NFC North loser, whether that's the Lions or Vikings. You don't want the 4 seed if possible. But the Bucs are going to be going for it. The Falcons are going to be going for it. Maybe the Rams. Definitely the Lions and Vikings, as I mentioned. Maybe the Packers.
Packers and Commanders, at least initially, have said that they're going to play their guys.
Yeah. Again, it's just a matter of how long will they play their guys for. All right. And then we'll take a break. And when we come back, that's the setup for the week. Who do we pick up now on the waiver wire when we come back? All right. Who are the top quarterbacks to get?
So I'm looking at Brock Purdy not playing at this point, and Josh Dobbs will be number 1 for me. Joe Flacco would be number 2 with the idea that Anthony Richardson doesn't play. And then number 3, we can call it a tie right now. Drake May and Michael Penix Jr. both playing against each other. Obviously, both great matchups. Penix, I think, has a slightly better matchup, but not May. Bryce Young. Bryce Young and Michael Penix Jr. Young facing the Falcons defense. He's 20 or more fantasy points in back-to-back games in 3 of his last 5. So if you want to just play who's been better, then you play Bryce Young over Michael Penix.
All right. And then at running back, we got a lot of injuries at running back right now. Who are the best ones to go get?
So pending injuries, we don't know the situation with Chase Brown and the Bengals. We don't know the situation with the Cardinals yet. But for me, I'm looking at Buffalo not playing James Cook. And the last time we saw that, Ray Davis was a superstar. Now, granted, that was with Josh Allen and, an offensive line that has probably had all of its starters, at least at that point. Probably not going to have most of its starters and no Josh Allen. But great matchup against Patriots, which could be resting guys. So he's my favorite. Then it's Khalil Herbert. And looking at the situation with the potential of not having Chase Brown, and as Dave alluded to on the full-length episode, Steelers could be sitting guys in the second half. And, there was more of what Mike Tomlin said was more about the offense than necessarily the defense. So TJ Watt, for example, who's battling an ankle injury, may not play, something along those lines. And then you have the situation in Arizona with most likely no James Conner. We don't know if Trey Benton's going to come back, but Michael Carter didn't look bad against the Rams, and he could be the guy there. Just in terms of 2 guys that we talked about, I didn't mention this, but just procedurally, I wouldn't look at it as a negative if you are playing Week 18. The Cardinals put Michael Carter back on the practice squad, and the Saints put Clyde Edwards-Helaire back on the practice squad. Those could still be their starting running backs for this week.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I think I would go with Herbert number 1, just because there's a little bit of uncertainty with Ray Davis. I imagine he'll get most of the work, but if they want to keep him healthy, that could be a problem. And yeah, I mean, Herbert, that's a team that we know they need to win. They are going to go for it. They play on Saturday. There's no chance they can be eliminated before they play the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't expect Chase Brown to play. And the Steelers are a tough run defense. They are. They give up a lot of touchdowns. Herbert's just been a good running back, and there's just there's hardly any better situations than starting running back for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Fair point.
But no, I mean, obviously, if I knew Ray Davis were going to get as many touches as Khalil Herbert, I would definitely go with Ray Davis.
Yeah, and there's still the chance of Chase Brown playing too, so that's
absolutely
part of it.
Wide receivers, who do you like?
So there's a chance Chris Olave could play. There's a chance Derek Carr could play. Something to keep an eye on there. And the matchup is good against the Bucs, as we know. So Olave, even with Spencer Rattler, could have an opportunity for a big game. Olamide Zaccheaus has been great the last 2 weeks. Hopefully that continues for a 3rd week in a row, and a good matchup for him against the Cowboys. And then Marvin Mims coming off a strong game against the Bengals. Another good matchup against the Chiefs, who could be resting McDuffie, for example, or several other guys on defense. No Chris Jones. I'm sure he's not going to play. So those would be the top 3 guys for me.
And how about at tight end? I actually found your tight end list to be pretty interesting. I was surprised that Okonkwo wasn't number 1.
Again, I'm just concerned about the quarterback situation there. So, will Levis, for example, lean on Okonkwo the way that Mason Rudolph has? That's been the sample size. Why wasn't he leaning on Okonkwo the entire season when he was the starter, as opposed to just the last 2.5 games when Mason Rudolph took over? So it's not a bad matchup by any stretch, unless, of course, you're just factoring in that the Texans getting guys back, getting a little healthy, playing their guys, could be a little tough. Okonkwo did have, I believe, a 70-yard touchdown against them in the first meeting, but that was, I think, his only catch. So just something to keep in mind there. But I do like what Gesicki did last week, and I don't necessarily think that if they don't have success running the ball, they didn't have success running the ball against the Broncos, that Gesicki could have another game where he's maybe 5 or 6 targets, and we know he doesn't need much to have a good game, and the Steelers have been really bad against tight ends lately. Dalton Schultz, we talked about this on the Thursday show last week. He should have had a much better game with the first game without both Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs, just Stroud missing him. Good matchup against the Titans. And Juwan Johnson coming off a game with 6 catches. I'll move Okonkwo up in the priority order. But Juwan Johnson coming off a 6-catch game where they may not have receivers in this game again. So could be a situation where Rattler leaning on Juwan Johnson and Foster Moreau, who scored a touchdown. So the tight ends were really involved for the Saints against the Raiders.
All right, folks. Oh, DSTs. We like the Seahawks, Texans, and Commanders. Kickers, Will Lutz, Zane Gonzalez, and Will Reichard. And the Seahawks, I don't think we're going to like them as much if the Rams are going for it. So you have to really pay attention to the stories there. Maybe you just go with the Texans or something.
Although, I mean, to be fair, and I agree with you, I won't like them as much. The Rams offense has been bad for 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
In terms of, I thought they were going to light up the Cardinals. They didn't. Not putting up a lot of points so far. And let's give the Seahawks defense some credit. I know the Bears are the Bears, but they had been playing much better offensively than what they showed last week too.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think, last question, do you think the Eagles are just going to waltz into the Super Bowl?
No.
I think the best bet for the Eagles would be the Lions winning in Week 18 because I just don't see how the Lions can stop them. I don't know how anyone can stop the Lions, but I think the Eagles are in pretty good shape. I feel like maybe the NFC North teams could give them trouble, but that's it. Not the Commanders, not the Rams, not the Bucs.
Well, so if it holds, if the seeds hold, Lions win and the Vikings lose. Vikings beat the 4 seed, whoever that may be, right? Let's just assume.
Probably going to be Tampa Bay.
And Eagles beat.
Yeah, I mean, Eagles hosting the Packers would not be an easy game. It would. Packers are good, but I think they'd win.
So you're assuming the Packers in the first game. Sorry.
I'm assuming the Commanders win, which would lock the Packers into the 7th seed, right?
Yep.
So Eagles Packers is the most likely scenario. That's what it is right now, and that's a tough draw. I mean, I'd rather face no disrespect to the Commanders. I'd probably rather face them than the Packers. Packers are battle-tested, tough playoff.
Sure, absolutely.
That year after year, they give teams games in the playoffs. They beat the snot out of the Cowboys last year, right?
We say that. I know Jalen Hurts got hurt in that game. The defense, while they turned the ball over quite a bit against Jane Daniels, he still came back and won. So.
Right. No, I don't think the Commanders would be a layup for them, but I'd rather face the Commanders than the Packers if I were the Eagles, just me. So then after that, who would they face? They would face
the winner of the 3.
Yeah. They would face they'd face the Lions would face the lowest remaining seed. So
yeah, but I'm saying if the seeds hold, they'd face the 3 seed.
That'd be the Rams, whereas the Lions would then get the Vikings.
That's crazy.
But if the Commanders beat the Rams, then the Lions would get the Commanders and the Eagles would get the Vikings-Bucks winner.
Can the Eagles outscore the Lions? That's the question.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd rather be in the NFC than the AFC. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, although, you get if the Lions beat the Vikings, get a bye, get healthy, because they're going to get Anzalone back. And if they somehow get Hutchinson back, now that might not be the Super Bowl, but
I guess you could say that the bottom of the NFC is better than the bottom of the AFC, depending on how you feel about the Commanders. But the Bucs are a better team than the Texans right now.
The top 3 in the AFC, I think, is better right now than anybody else.
The top 3, yeah, but the bottom 3, I think the Packers are better than anyone. The Packers.
Yeah, if the Bengals get in, I know the defense is bad, but
yeah, I know. I don't think they're getting in. I think it's going to be the Broncos.
It's just too tough. The fact that the Dolphins and the Broncos have such layup games.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was a long episode of Express. Thanks for indulging, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow.